Hi everybody, welcome to or back to the channel. Today we are talking, I think it is the first one that I have on Kindle format. I actually don't have a Kindle, I use the Kindle app. I have my Amazon Fire tablet here, but this is The Courage to Commit from Andrew East and Shawn Johnson East. If you are not familiar with either one of them, I have been a longtime Shawn Johnson fan. She was an Olympic gymnast who married her husband, who Andrew was an NFL player, and they have written this book, Courage to Commit. Now, something that's kind of extra special for me with this title is on their social pages, they asked if there were people who wanted to be early readers of the book and kind of join the community and connect with them about things that might make more sense if we organize the book this way, or these are some of the images that we were thinking of including in the book, or this was the text or whatnot. So I was actually part of that group, which was super exciting. I've been a fan of Shawn's for an extremely long time. I followed her entire career, so to get to know them a little bit more personally, and just for them to be humble enough to actually ask people for feedback and like, hey, what we're putting out here, we want it to be as good as it possibly can be, and so we need everybody's help and ideas to make that happen. So that was super special. I was really excited for them to have a book. If you follow their social content, they have a podcast and they talk about marriage and they talk about family and faith and just all of these things that play into their life. So I thought it was super exciting that they were actually writing a book, and I was very impressed with the topic of the book, of this courage to commit, and I was very interested to see how they kind of broke up their stories. I think that anytime you see a professional athlete, we all have a tendency to think, oh, well, they're just genetically gifted, and they have been doing this since they were 3, and they were just meant to be an Olympic gymnast, or they were just meant to be an NFL player. And yes, I think there is some genetic component or some talent that some people have more than others. I think, if I had been a gymnast since I was 3, I don't know that I still would have been an Olympic gymnast, right? I think there is some extra talent that comes into play there, but they don't downplay the fact that that also did not come without a lot of hard work and sacrifice that I think is very easy for all of us to dismiss. You hear Michael Jordan talk about that he was still practicing like the last day of his career. Of course, he still went to practice. He was Michael Jordan. Did he need to practice? Maybe not, but that was his way of continuing to hone his craft and his skill. They're very open about that. Andrew went through lots of different trades to different teams during his time in the NFL, and just the disappointment that came with that, and not really feeling like, honestly, you had kind of control over your own life. Or Shawn talks about needing to be in the gym 7 days a week and missing holidays and sleepovers, or she couldn't eat this or she couldn't eat that, or even when she was traveling for meets, that yes, it seems like it was very glamorous, but there was a lot of sacrifice that her peers did not understand. It's like, oh, but it's just one night. No, I can't do the one night because I'm going to be wrecked in the morning if I do that. Again, we kind of see these moments of triumph, and we don't see everything that led up to it. So the concept itself, I think, is something that is very timely in just society as a whole. And that is that we've all kind of culturally looked at this, well, you only live once and you need to be happy, and you need to seek out your dreams, and you need to follow those passions. And that is true. But they talk about in the book that has led to a lot of analysis paralysis, right? Or I even talk about this professionally when I'm doing interviews for our company of like, hey, you can be anything that you set your mind to, but that doesn't mean that you just wake up and become a unicorn, right? And it has led, which part of what they talk about is this kind of sense of constant dissatisfaction, because we're always chasing the next thing, and this next thing is going to make me happier, and this isn't really hard right now, so I need to find something that's not so hard, when really we need to have the courage to commit to what it is that we committed to, right? And they're not saying, again, that you do something that's unhealthy for you, or you stay in an abusive relationship just because you decided you were getting married. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about not just running because it's hard, because then you're just running to the next thing that is also going to be hard. And then what happens when that thing becomes hard, or I've heard this said before too, like, you used to pray for the life that you have now, right? Or you used to pray for the struggles or the decisions that you have to make now. And that is really true. So in the way that they frame it is, it actually makes it so that you have less decisions that you have to make when you're clearing the deck on what is truly important to you, and we're going to go all the way. And it's not an option to have an out. It's not an option to say no. It's not an option to give up. This is what I am doing. I'm going to focus on these couple of things, right? I am going to commit to my spouse, I'm going to commit to my family, I'm going to commit to this is my career, and I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to make that work. And I think that really does help simplify it when you look at it from that standpoint and like, hey, yeah, it is going to be hard. And there are going to be times that you don't like your spouse, or, you know, again, like from the outside looking in, like, oh, you have this wonderful marriage, but like you may not like that person all the time, right? Michelle Obama, I've heard her say multiple times, like, yeah, we've been married for 30 years and 10 of those years I did not like my husband, right? Those are things that people just don't say. I think we shy away from the fact that things will be hard because no one wants to talk about that. That's not the Instagram worthy sexy post, but that's also life and that's also reality. And I really appreciate that they brought their experiences, you know, they're trying to tie it into real life situations that everyone can relate to, right? Whether you're a professional athlete or not, whether you are in the public eye or not, like these are just the core things. Again, everyone has these struggles in family or with their romantic relationships or professional relationships that everyone can take away something from. So, you know, those are the questions I thought about. Are there things, you know, in my life, or are there things in your life that you really are struggling to commit to 100% that might actually make it a little bit easier for you when those challenges come up? You expect the challenges, you know, they're coming. Okay, and now how do we tackle it? And how do we move on from there? You know, because this is what we're doing. Like, this is what we're doing. And yeah, we know it's not going to be perfect and there's going to be days that it's hard, but I'm not just going to constantly be distracted by, well, this next thing may not be as hard. So that's the direction that I'm going in. And then is there some aspects of your life, are there many aspects of your life that have become overly complicated that are resulting in this analysis paralysis? Is there something that you can help clear the deck on and realize that, hey, I am being distracted by all of these things over here, or, oh, I want to be like that person on social media when we're just seeing the snapshot of their life. You know, I also heard something on a podcast a couple of days ago that said, you know, social media is usually 10% of what someone's day is. I'm saying, yeah, that's true, right? We're only seeing one piece of it that we're trying to emulate, or we're constantly seeking, that is helping lead into this dissatisfaction that we constantly have. So do you need to clear the deck on that and just focus in on, let's not have analysis paralysis. What do we really want to hone in on? And we're going to go after that one thing that we're honing in on like a mother, right? We're going to go all in on those one thing or those couple of things and not just constantly have all of the noise that comes in life in general. And there is this, the grass is always greener, right? The grass is always going to look greener in somebody else's lawn. You don't know what it took to get to that lawn, right? So instead of always looking at the grass is always greener on somebody's on the other side of the fence when you don't know what's happened there, can you plant yourself where you are, right? Where do you find yourself thinking, oh, well, this is just going to be easier. It is going to be better over here, when you don't know that that actually is the case. And I think the biggest takeaway is, are you leaving yourself open to other possibilities just because that is safer, because you're scared of the hard? I think that is every human's inclination, is that we want to go with the path of least resistance, right? There are physics and science that show in nature how people go to and things and bodies, and everyone wants to go to the path of least resistance. And so are you scared of the hard because the new shiny thing seems like a safer option, when that may in fact not be the case? And this is something that I am still sitting with. This one actually took me a while to get through, not because I couldn't get through the content, but because I really wanted to sit with some of those principles and let them soak in and journal about some of those questions for myself in my own life. So I think it was definitely thought-provoking. I think it was a different take on a lot of concepts that kind of flip on their head of what we see out there in the world as a whole, coming from people that a lot of people do admire and think that they have it all worked out and that it was just easy for them. And not only are they kind of giving you the behind the scenes honesty of the fact that, number one, it was not easy for them, and it doesn't continue to be easy for them. You know, these are professional athletes who have retired from their respective careers and had to build careers from scratch again. Like, you know, what do you do after you're an Olympian, or what do you do after you get out of the NFL? Again, those are things that people don't talk about. Or what does it actually take to have a long-lasting marriage, especially when you're in the public eye and you have this extra scrutiny? So definitely a lot of food for thought there. I really enjoyed it. I think this is one that you can come back to, and even just through the chapters, just pick out those kind of individual points or those individual concepts that may apply to you in life right at that point in time. And Shawn and Andrew, thank you so much, you know, for allowing the whole group of us who were able to see this kind of come to fruition, and then all of the buildup and the excitement that led to the release. It was an absolute privilege, and I just appreciate so much the people you are, and I think this book will help even more people be exposed to who you really are at your core, outside of just the professional athletes that you were and still are such an inspiration to so many people for. So courage to commit. Let me know what you guys think and what you're committing to. Maybe you'll recommit to something after reading the book. I think that would be a huge win for the Easts to learn that they made an impact that way.